Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is if you have your moon in Aries and Venus in Libra. And I'm doing these particular videos to showcase influences in tandem, in combination, that relate to a person's love nature. So when I'm doing personal readings and I see somebody has, for instance, their moon squaring or opposing Venus, there could be some issues in their ability to give or receive love. The square and the opposition are different in how they function, but they both are hard angles. In this particular case, if you have this combination, for some of you, this is going to be an opposition because Aries and Libra are opposite signs. So you may find that there is a tendency to project your own emotional needs onto another person. And that isn't going to sit well with that person because they're going to feel like probably oppressed, among other things. But it's really because it's coming from within inside of you. So you're acting like it's showing up in that other person, but really it's inside of you. So the first thing I just want to briefly touch upon is the moon and its function in astrology. So the moon is our emotional nature. I think a lot of people understand that. But what are our emotions? Our emotions are not just, I'm happy, I'm angry, I'm sad. Our emotions are also, I would just say, memories of past events that either make us feel positive or they might bring us down. And the moon in astrology rules the sign of Cancer, and they rule the fourth house of home and family, which is about the past. I mean, it can be about what's presently happening in your domestic life, but I'm talking about it's your childhood, and it can be your mother. Some people say the father. I'm going to just focus more on the mother because the moon can be your mother for sure. And so, and you know, by the way, when we talk about the moon being in Aries, if you had a mother who was like an Aries person, didn't have to be born under that sign, but had those qualities, maybe who was volatile, maybe who was playful, creative, maybe who was very energetic, very ambitious, they're going to impart those qualities onto you because that's how they nurtured you, or a lack thereof. And that affects your ability to nurture others. And depending on your gender, if you're a man and this is your mother, that if you are, it can affect any type of relationship, but let's say you are heterosexual and you are attracted to women, and you either might be attracted to a woman who is like that, even if you didn't have a good relationship with that person. And in those cases, that can be pretty gnarly, not good gnarly, because you're attracted to qualities that are on the challenging side. And that can lead to a series of bad relationships. If you're a woman, you might embody those qualities yourself because you identify with your mother as the same gender parent, and therefore somebody that you would be likely to emulate, even if likewise you did not have a good relationship with that person. How many people may even downright dislike one of their parents, but they're a spitting image of that person, especially, I would say, same gender parent. If you don't like your same gender parent and yet you behave like them, what does that say? It says that you might not like those qualities within yourself. So anyway, so Venus represents sensuality. Now, when I was reading about this from some websites that I just, perused just to get a feel for what they talk about with Venus, I really believe when they say sensuality that they're not talking about sex per se. I would assign that to Mars, to what your Mars sign is, because Mars can be your libido. I think of Venus as romantic, but sensuality, Venus is very languid and Venus is receptive. It's a feminine energy, so it's very much taking things in, which can mean the five senses. These are part of the natural world. They're tangible things. So people who have a prominent Venus, maybe who are born under the sign of Taurus, I would say, especially over the sign of Libra, which is also ruled by Venus because Taurus is an earth sign. So it really is connected to things of this world. The delight in taste, the scent of something, the feel of something, the look of something, how something sounds like a beautiful piece of music. That can be so satisfying, and that's sensuality. So these are words that have to be defined because they can get easily distorted. So going back to the moon sign, when your moon is in Aries, you can have a volatile emotional nature. And, you have to look at more things going on in your astrological configuration. Namely, look at where your Mars is, see if it's aspecting the moon, because maybe you have a trine and then you have more harmonious energy flow, because Mars can be anger and the moon, being the emotional nature, it can either cooperate with that Mars or it can clash with it. So that might, make somebody who's a little bit less likely to erupt, for instance. So this type of person can be very ardent in his or her affections, meaning very passionate. And there can be that immediacy that results in a person who is very spontaneous with emotions. Maybe you're the type of person who falls in love in an instant. Now, again, another thing to point out is that with Mars, let's say your moon and Mars are in conjunction, then you might be somebody who falls in love and you want to move in with that person in a week, because Mars can be your actions. And with the moon, you're with a moon in conjunction, meaning usually it's going to be in the same sign, but it's like merging with Mars. It's like the person's emotions are so they're so immediate, being that Aries is the first sign, and on top of that, they could be very rash, because Aries is you could either call Aries spontaneous, and that's the more positive interpretation, but sometimes Aries may be rash, meaning that they do things in haste and they repent in leisure. And when I'm saying Aries, I know, your sun may not be in Aries, but I'm talking about your moon sign. And that the moon is a very important aspect of your personality, as a matter of fact, because Aries is such a forceful, strong sign. Let's say your sun is in Taurus. And Taurus is adjacent to Aries, so you might have inner planets like Mars and definitely in Aries, and that could overshadow your sun and make you very, very much like an Aries person more than a Taurus person. Like nobody would ever guess that you're a Taurus. So the bottom line is that a person who has the moon in Aries may have a tendency to kind of blow up emotionally. The thing about Aries that is good is that even if they, have an anger management issue, like they get upset very quickly, they can calm down very quickly as well because they're so immediate about everything. So nothing lasts very long. But the issue can be that for some people, anger is something that is very upsetting to them. They don't like people who blow up. Some people, they're kind of immune to it. Maybe they've had to deal with it earlier on in life and they're not as phased by it. But I mean, it depends. If you're the kind of person that is always getting angry, then that is definitely something to, look at, because that's like being a rageaholic. But if you're someone who, it's just like you express your feelings. And by the way, this doesn't have to be just anger. It could be like something very positive where you get very giddy. You're very enthusiastic. That's one of the nicest things about Aries people in general, whether it's the sun, the moon, or the ascendant, is that they tend to be very positive and enthusiastic about life. They don't hold on to grudges. They're very quick to forgive. They're very romantic and, full of a love of life. And so it's something that is it can be infectious. Just a lot of energy in general, a lot of physical energy. Now, this is the moon position, so we would tend to see it more energetically than physically, but still, it's a prominent position. So I would even think that somebody who has the moon in a cardinal sign like Aries, or just Aries in general, would be very energetic. But in any case, that kind of blunt emotion kind of flies in the face of Libra, because Libra is a sign that it believes in being refined, meaning that there is decorum, there is consideration, being considerate to others, there is harmony. Libra is ruled by Venus, or Venus rules Libra. I should say it like that. I hope I, I'm talking about Libra and I'm talking about Venus. So that's what got me confused. So Libra is a sign that doesn't like to make waves. Now, this is your Venus sign. So it's not necessarily, it's part of your core personality, but it's not something that we can isolate and we could really know that about you probably if we first meet you. Your moon sign may be much more prominent in terms of your personality than your Venus sign, but it can be front and center when it comes to relationships, because it can talk about the way that you like to love or be in relationship. With Libra, it might be joined at the hip because Libra rules the 7th house of committed partnership. Aries is the first house of the self. So they oppose one another, and you could say they contradict one another in that sense. So there could be a part of yourself that wants to remain emotionally free, And it's got this conflict going with this part of you that wants to be in relationship. And it's like, what wins out? It's really when you have an opposition, you're looking for balance because you have this polarity going on. And as I think I stated earlier, because of these extremes, because it's an opposition, it is an extreme, but it can mean projection. It can mean that you are embodying something that you're not consciously aware of, and you're blaming another person or demanding from another person that they fulfill that when it's really inside of yourself. So an example might be that you feel like you need freedom because that's what your moon in Aries wants quite a bit, and you may accuse another person of trying to keep you from being free when in fact you may even, maybe you have issues with the concept of freedom within yourself, and you're acting like another person is doing that to you. But anyway, the bottom line is that there are two sides here. Even if this is not forming an official opposition for you, you still may have some of these themes come up where with Venus in Libra, you're looking at, you have these values. Venus can be your values that are very much around being very, even like people pleasing and, wanting approval from others. Venus isn't always just like romantic. It can be your friendships as well. And so there's a desire for harmony within relationships. And with the moon in Aries, there can be kind of like this love of drama even. What came into my mind is a shit stirrer, which is really like the emotional troll, the person who gets off on riling people up. Now, I don't believe that people who do things like that are necessarily being malicious or even naughty, like they know that they are trying, that they're upsetting people or anything like that. I think that sometimes people confuse passion or confuse drama with passion. And so when relationships are very harmonious, which is what your Venus wants, it gets dull for your moon, for your feeling nature. And you may try to kind of throw a little bit of spice in there, spice things up by, whatever. I was going to say being argumentative, or just, whatever ways that has been a thing, or even like in some cases to kind of break away from that relationship tendency, because it does need integration. There are two sides of your nature in that sense, and we haven't even talked about what your sun sign might be. So, because Venus is fairly close to the sun, very close to the sun, you may very well have your sun in Libra as well as your Venus. And so that would indicate that you really do value harmony, and that would create an additional type of internal conflict as it pertains to how you even operate in the world and how you want to shine your light. Because when people have, and this can be different permutations, I did the astrological chart of Cardi B, and I believe, because her sun is in Libra, And I believe, I don't think it was her moon sign. I think it was her rising sign that was in Aries. And if you pay attention to, if you've ever watched her, you know that she seems a lot like an Aries. You would not normally think she's a Libra because she's not acting in a refined way. She says some outrageous things, and yet they're very amusing things. She's a very funny person. She's an entertainer in that sense. She's got like a witty side, very crude, but very witty. And that's the thing about Aries, is that it can be very crude. It can be like the bull in the china closet that is not refined. Libra is refinement, and Venus in Libra wants somebody who is refined. You are turned off. Now, again, this might be modified by your moon sign a little bit, and depending on what your sun sign is, but typically somebody with Venus in Libra is turned off to people who, as they put it, don't have home training. So that kind of person is going to come across to you as very coarse, very unrefined, and you're going to, kind of recoil at that sort of person. And another thing about, one thing I want to say about this combination is about beauty, because Venus in Libra, one of the values is beauty. First of all, it's like, you might specialize in it. You might be a lover of art, and you have like this built-in appreciation for that sort of thing. And that can extend to the type of person that you are attracted to. You may be attracted to people who are good dressers, which may seem like shallow as all get out, but it's part of that appreciation of the physical, of harmony, a harmonious appearance. And because Aries is to me, Aries is one of the lustier signs of the zodiac. And even in the moon position, I feel that love and lust can get confused, because our moon sign can indicate our sentimental nature that comes from when we bond with others and we share memories together. But when it's in this sign of Aries or Leo, or maybe even Taurus, there's certain signs where the erotic angle may get confused with love and romanticism, and the person may think that they're madly in love, and they're actually madly in lust. And with Venus in Libra, that can exacerbate things, because they can actually really almost require that their beloved look a certain way. And the problem with that aesthetic kind of requirement is that just because you're attracted to a certain type of person doesn't mean that they're right for you. Just because you are immediately in lust with someone doesn't mean that that person is overall a good match for you. So it depends on how sensual a person is, how much that has meaning. And when I say sensual in this context, I really am talking about sexual. Maybe I should say sexual a person is, and how much they value that. Because some people, that is like really important to them. And sometimes they have to find out the hard way when they have multiple negative, I was going to say another word that's pretty crude, examples of negative relationships that really explode in their faces, and they realize that they have to be more discerning. So this could definitely be one of the pitfalls of this combination, because with the moon in Aries, you have such immediacy with emotions that you might be the person who falls in love at the drop of a hat. Or just maybe you don't just constantly fall in love, but when you do fall in love, it's like that, and so there's not necessarily that discernment coming into play. And then, even the term falling in love, it does imply that immediacy anyhow. Because, I have the moon in Virgo, so I'm kind of like analytical about these things. So anyway, it really is one of these combinations where there may be contradictory behavior that goes on because they represent opposing signs. So it's, almost like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde sometimes, where, the polar opposites are somehow supposed to come together in a harmonious way. And how does that happen? But I would just say that these two signs are masculine, the fire and the air, and they are harmonious elements. So it's not that they are just completely incompatible. You can be a person who loves very, very strongly and, be romantic, be fun, and be the kind of person that values partnership. If you find the right person who can give you that companionship, where it's not just about, like I said, the physical attraction. You may, I shouldn't say may, I think you do require intellectual compatibility for sure. I think both of these signs have innate intelligence. And so in relationship, they would require that and require a person who has that. So anyway, I hope that you found this interesting. And if you would like a personal reading, please click on the link below to find out what kind of offers I have. Take care. Bye.